Hey dudes, this is Prince Matt the Hedgehog here, and today, well, it has come to my attention that, I've gained just about 51 subscribers, and I find that just plain awesome. I couldn't have done this without you guys, and I didn't think I'd be making it this far on YouTube without you guys, so I want to thank you all a whole lot for that. And just a few weeks ago, on April 14th, it was my birthday, and I couldn't wish for anything better than to be with you, than have all you guys with me for this. So today I thought, why not do a Let's React for this special? I'm going to be reacting to some childhood ruining creepypastas. Just two of them. You see guys, when I grew up, I watched a whole lot of Barney. Yup, it's Barney, kids. Oh god. Okay, that's kind of a mix of Barney and Goofy, but that doesn't matter, so let's get started. Let me get up the first video, Barney the Dinosaur by Creepypasta. Go subscribe to this guy, he is awesome if you haven't already.
How much can you do in 1 week? As much
Dang advertisements.
as you want. The 2015 Nissan Versa Note with Nissan Connect and a round view monitor. Shop ChooseNissan.com.
Super Mario
and click now
128, that might
offers
make
like
for
this.
another react. Wink wink shove shove, if you know what I mean, buddy. Okay, childhood. There we go, there's my childhood. I haven't watched a whole lot of Barney in the recent times, because, you know, I've been growing up. I'm 16. Why is it all getting staticky?
Everyone has heard of Barney and Friends. A show, despite its ridicule
Hi, Barney.
being overly simplistic and not as educational as people wanted it, is a part of pretty much everyone's childhood, including mine. When I was a kid, I could work the VHS machine like a whiz for my age, and would tape every episode that came on in the morning before school, and would immediately play it back over and over as soon as I got home from school. I mean, every kid had their obsession when they were young. Some kids had Sesame Street, Thomas the Tank Engine, Teletubbies, Pokemon, etc. But I had Barney the Dinosaur.
So did I, brother.
Anyway, nowadays I'm a bit too old to be watching it by myself. But my excuse to be watching it is that I have a son, Chris. He's only 3. And I don't know if it's because he knows I secretly get a little bit excited to relive a portion of my childhood, but he also loves to watch the gang solve their problems with high-spiritedness, friendship and good morals. For those who don't know, Barney and Friends is a friendly purple dinosaur who comes to life through children's imagination. Barney, who was later joined by Baby Bop, BJ and Riff, and his friends would prominently teach through songs and small dance routines with friendly, optimistic attitudes. His iconic theme tune was Barney as a Dinosaur, which is sang to the tune of Yankee Doodle. But his most well-known song is I Love You, which appeared in nearly every episode. That was Chris's favourite part. No matter how active he was during the dance parts, or how excited he was after one of the children's problems was solved, whenever that song came on, he was on his knees right in front of the screen, humming or singing along with Barney. Those
That sums up my childhood.
were serene to me. A collection of happy memories that will be with me forever. Sadly, it didn't take long to eventually blast through all 14 seasons of Barney and Friends. It didn't help that, due to a hiatus during season 13, season 14 was actually just hand-picked episodes from previous series, essentially making it just a set of reruns. After Chris had watched them all, and rewatched the episodes he liked, he innocently asked me for the next series. I was disheartened to have told him that there were no more, that he had seen them all. But as children are, he didn't have an understanding that shows just ended. So he began crying. It wasn't the simple crying of a child falling over and bumping their knee, or because they couldn't get what they wanted. It was tears of heartbreak. And in turn, this started to hurt me as well, knowing that this is breaking a part of his innocence as a child.
Yep.
So, without thinking, I told him I'll do some searching and find him more. He was used to waiting, as finding each series usually took some time, and he understood what that meant. I had no idea what I'd do, but for now, he was settled.
That's so nice.
There are a lot of helpful sites, and a few forums which I found with a few searches on the internet. And after looking on the Barney Wiki, which I couldn't believe existed, I found a small
Trust me,
trivia
dude, there's a
section
wiki
which
for
had the
everything.
fact: from November 3rd, 1997 to April 2000, all of the Barney and Friends episodes were encoded with signals that enabled the Actimates Barney doll to interact with the program. I didn't even think that kind of technology existed. I must have not heard of it because it was done after I was a child and before Chris was born.
I remember that
How
thing
it works is,
so well
if you
because
had
I
the
used to
TV
have
pack,
one.
You could plug it into your TV and link it with your Microsoft Actimates Barney doll. Once linked, Barney became a viewing buddy who would watch the show with you and interact at certain segments.
He'd also
Either
interact
when it
with
was
you if
aired
you played a
or
Barney
certain
computer game. I
encoded
remember that.
videotapes. Quite a clever little device. I thought if I got this Chris, it would give him a whole new experience to watch his favorite show with Barney himself. Something I never had as a child. Hell, I didn't even have a Barney plushie as a kid. My parents were the type who always said they couldn't afford it whenever I asked for anything. So, with a plan in my head, I set my time to find a working Actimates doll, a TV pack, and the compatible episodes for my son to watch.
Now instead of watching Barney and Friends on PBS, you can interact with Barney on PBS.
I remember that thing so
Four-year-old
well.
Valerie is watching Barney and Friends with an innovative new early learning system called Microsoft Actimates.
That was fun.
Actimates Interactive Barney acts as a co-viewer, reinforcing and coaching Mallory through fun educational lessons. Actimates Interactive Barney also responds as an early learning partner with CD-ROMs on a PC or encoded videos on a VCR.
She always watched Barney by herself anyway, but now she goes and gets the character, and the two of them watch it together. And they count together, and they're singing, and they're dancing and moving around, so it's even more educational than it was before.
It's not even educational to begin with.
Good job.
Oh, hi
It
Barney
was
from a
2 or
side
3
view.
weeks later that I got a response. It was from one of my forum posts I had made asking about the items, and if anyone had a set they were willing to part with. The going price was relatively high for a toy almost 2 decades old. I guess others might have had the same idea as me. But I was more tenacious. I wanted this for Chris more than anything. Picturing the look on his face after he receives this was the thought that made me very pushy. And I managed to get the set I wanted at a very good price. The man was surprisingly excited to have sold it, which was strange because he could have asked for a lot more and sold it just as quickly. He didn't live very far either, so I met him in front of his house where he was waiting for me, and we walked behind his clean white van. It looked almost brand new, and went on with the transaction. I gave him the money, and he pulled out a box, and even carried it to my car, which I thought was rather nice. We didn't exchange many words. My mind was preoccupied with wanting to rush home and show Chris. As soon as I got home, I
Best
shouted
father
for
ever.
Chris. I must have shouted a bit too loud because he came to me slowly looking down, as if he was in trouble. I explained everything I'd been doing online and pulled the box that I hid behind the doorframe. That was the happiest moment of my life. A mixed feeling of accomplishment and perseverance, seeing my child's face light up with such bliss. A look of pure joy, like he was in a world where sadness didn't exist at all, which is a wonderment to itself.
I never lived in that
It really
land.
sticks with you after you witness a moment like that. He straight away dragged the box halfway to the living room before I caught up and carried it the rest of the way. I tried to set it up, which took a while because it was old and fiddly, plus the guy didn't leave an instruction manual with it. In the time it took me to finally finish, his level of excitement didn't dwindle at all. I started the tape and walked away towards the door. He stopped me, asking where I was going, why I wasn't going to watch it with him. While the intro was playing, I knelt down in front of him and said, "This is an experience I want you to have, with just you and Barney," to which I pointed at the plushie. He nodded in agreement excitedly, and then I lost him to the TV, asking the viewers to sing along. I headed to the kitchen for some coffee, and spent the rest of the afternoon in my room.
Me?
That's interesting.
What are these things for, Sissy? Finger painting. See?
Phone technology was that advanced.
Fantastic automatic ooey gooey drip dropper.
Let's get messy!
Baby Pop, I don't like that
After the
kind
sounds
I
of
don't
the
like.
TV died,
You
I
ruined my
shouldn't
childhood
finish
already,
watching.
man.
So I went downstairs to see what he wanted to do next. But before I opened the door, I heard Chris talking. He sounded distressed, like he was upset at what someone said. I opened the door to see if his mother came home early and told him off for something. But what I saw was Chris's head spin around towards me, while he was holding Barney in front of him. There was a moment of silence as I was trying to process what to say, until I instinctively came out with, "Chris, what's going on?" Quick as a whistle, he said, "Nothing," brushing it off like he was hiding something before darting past me to the kitchen, Barney in hand. I just stood there, trying to see if he had broken anything in the room before I heard Chris from the kitchen asking for my help to pour him a drink. I was suspicious, but seeing nothing out of the ordinary in the living room, I obliged to Chris's request and left. From then on, whenever I'd return to Chris to check up on him while he was watching his show, I opened the door. But he must have always heard me coming because as soon as I peeked in, he stopped talking, sit down from whatever position he was in, and placed himself bolt upright in a formal manner. There was no use in asking what he was doing because he'd always cover it up. And I say cover it up because I know he was up to something. Kids are terrible liars.
That's
He
actually
brought that
true.
Barney doll around with him everywhere and told him everything he was doing. If he was away, as soon as he was with his doll again, he'd harp on and on about his school day. It was relaxing to hear this because from then I knew he was probably hiding the fact that he believed Barney to be real, most likely thinking that I'd think it was weird or tell him to stop if he told me. We had a good relationship, so I thought he'd know better that I wouldn't do that, but he's at the age where keeping secret invisible friends was normal, so this gave me peace of mind to let him continue. My parents told me I did the same when I was his age, so he probably got it from me. It was during the end of term break from preschool that he really started to religiously watch the show. Despite whether the episode was compatible with the Actimate's technology or not, he still watched it with Barney. The toy had built-in phrases to say things like, "I like watching TV with you," which I thought was clever. So it was understandable that he'd continue using the doll when it was not needed. When there was quiet parts of the show, I could hear Chris talking to Barney. I had a frog in my throat hearing how innocent he sounded, like Barney was actually there right next to him. But something ruined the moment. As I was listening in from the top of the stairs, I thought I heard a deep voice of another person. Shocked, I instinctively ran downstairs and stormed the living room to see Chris, startled, holding his Barney doll. At the time, I regretted ever doing that. During dinner, Chris told me that Barney didn't like me anymore, which crushed me. I felt like I should have left him to whatever he was doing, but I couldn't explain what I heard. And if I told anyone, I'd sound way too paranoid.
I don't blame you, man.
After that, Chris almost seemed to avoid me. He obviously couldn't cut contact with me since I was the main one who was looking after him during his break from school. He needed me to do remedial tasks that a 3-year-old couldn't, like fetching him a drink and grabbing his Barney tapes from the top shelf. But I definitely noticed he spoke to me less. He never told me what Barney said, even if I asked. Never told me what he was thinking or anything like that. At the end of his school break, he had cleared through the 3 series I had, which was compatible with the Actimate style, and other episodes in between as well. During the last day, me and his mother sat him down and explained he couldn't stay up past his bedtime anymore because he had to wake up early for school again. Disgruntled, he agreed and went to his room like we told him.
He interacts with his television show through a unique animation technology developed by Microsoft that will make its broadcast premiere on PBS. The program is broadcast from your PBS member station with an encoded signal. It's read by a special decoder transmitter hooked into the VCR connected to your television set. The transmitter then decodes the data and transmits it to a wireless receiver in the body of the Actimates interactive Barney.
Let's watch this show together and let's learn 10 puzzle pieces of my favorite things.
The first day for school.
Okay,
he
Barney,
woke up
that's a little
tired,
too close now.
which was expected. No kid wakes up for school sprightly after getting used to a more relaxed sleeping pattern. But after the 7th time, then the 14th time, he started to wonder why. So one night, I told him to go to bed at his usual time. I waited down the hall from his room, camped down on a chair, and patiently sat there to see what happens. I waited an hour, nothing. I waited 2, nothing. But after the 3rd, he came out, rubbing his eyes like he had just woken up. When he walked out, I saw he was clutching his Barney doll as he slumped downstairs. I crept to the edge of the balcony, waiting to see if he walked into the living room to start watching TV, ready to catch him in the act. This would be the perfect explanation as to why he was so tired. But what happened next completely threw me off. Instead of heading right towards the TV room, he turned left. I saw him approach the front door, reaching up to the latch and turn it. Why was he opening the front door? Was he going to go outside? Before I could find out, out of parental anger, I shouted at him to stop before thumping downstairs and grabbing his arm. I looked him in the eyes for a few seconds with a stern look to show him that I was serious. After intimidating him, I calmly came out with, "Son, why did you unlatch the..." He had a look of fear in his eyes, a look you get when you know you've disappointed someone. His eyes started to water, his lips started to tremble as he slowly blurted out, But Barney told me to do it." In a fit of anger, I swung my hand and smacked his bottom. I wasn't mad that he opened the front door. I wasn't mad that he was awake way past his bedtime. I was angry at the fact that my own son lied to me. He started wailing as I carried him back to his room and told him I'd deal with him in the morning. I explained what happened to my wife before we went to bed.
Oh.
We learned something new today. That's right. Hip, hip, hooray! We learned something new today. I'd really like to go to that school, but I'm too little.
Baby Bop, you're not little anymore. It's been quite a number of years, Baby Bop. She doesn't really look... These kids really don't look excited. Oh, okay, Barney, a little too
The
close.
next
Come on,
morning,
man.
I saw a child
Go back.
with a
Go
face
back.
of many emotions. A look of distress, a look of disappointment, a look of sadness, a look of betrayal. He sat down quietly. He was looking at the ground the whole time. I sat down in front of him, and in a more friendlier tone than the night before, asked him again
So why is there
he
an...
was opening the front
Why
door.
is this in almost the
He
entire
looked up
video
and quietly murmured,
just featuring a Barney doll?
"Barney told me to do it."
Oh,
My voice
that's
raised
why.
as I said, "Chris,
Yeah, Tail
why are you lying to me?
right now.
You'll be in more trouble if you lie again."
I know, I'm gonna die in
He
about
raised his head
47
with a
years from
serious look
chronic
on his
EXE,
face.
but
But
you
he
can wait for
really
that
did.
later.
His face started to well up. "I'm not lying." I knew it wasn't true. It couldn't be. Although he sounded like he honestly believed that it was. But I knew that kids have a very active imagination, something people lose after a certain age. I deliberated for a few minutes before telling Chris that he could not do as Barney said anymore. I felt that to deal with this situation meant I had to act as if Barney was really talking to Chris. He looked down and agreed, which I thought would be the end of the whole situation. I was wrong.
First company that we wanted to talk to is PBS, because PBS stands for all the things that we're trying to accomplish here. We're trying to get education delivered, and we're trying to really add value in a program. And PBS was just a natural fit for us.
Microsoft, we know you just want our money.
The next night, a few hours after Chris went to bed, me and the wife decided to get some sleep as well. We slept for a bit before I was woken up by my bladder. Nature was calling and I had to answer. I opened my bedroom door slowly in order to not wake my wife up. I tiptoed through the hallway, but as I was passing Chris's bedroom door, I heard something. I stopped and listened in. I could hear Chris. He was talking, but not in a normal talking tone. He was talking in a higher-pitched, whining tone, like he was complaining about something. I couldn't make out any words at first until I heard the phrase, "No, I'm not allowed to do as you say anymore." I straight away knew what he was up to. He was talking to his Barney doll again. I raised my hand in order to knock on the door to make my presence known. I yelled, "Get back to bed," as my hand started banging against the door, but as I did, I swore I heard, in Barney's voice, say, "Do it." I immediately stopped knocking as a chill crawled up my spine. Was Barney really talking to him? I wanted to investigate further, but my need to relieve myself intensified, so I rushed to the bathroom and tried to do everything as quickly as I could so I could talk to Chris about what was going on. Whilst I was doing my business, I started to relax and think about what happened. I started to think about what it could have been Barney's phrases he says, or misheard Chris doing the voice himself. After I finished, I washed my hands, less hastily than I was originally going to, and opened the door. I headed back through the hallway and saw that Chris's door was wide open. I peeked in and saw no sign of him anywhere in his room. Before I had any time to think of my next move, I heard a blood-curdling scream come from downstairs. I burst out of the doorway and down the stairs out of pure reaction. As soon as I got to the bottom of the stairs, I looked left and saw the front door, also wide open. Through the door on the other side of the road was a white van. I didn't have enough time to investigate as I heard another scream to my right. "Chris!" I yelled as I ran into the living room. When I burst in, all I saw in the middle of the room was Chris's Barney doll. "Dad!" I heard, screamed from the Barney doll itself. Puzzled, I started walking over to it. As I did, a squeal echoed through my house from behind me. I turned to just catch the sight of the back of the white van speeding off down the road. I picked up the Barney doll, hearing the squeal also resonating through the plushie simultaneously. I opened it back and saw a two-way radio. The light on the top that signified that it had a connection to another radio dimmed to nothing.
And you can always count on having a fun day when you spend it with the people you love. I love you. You love me. We're a happy family. With a great big hug and a kiss from me to you.
Well then.
Won't you say you love me too? I love you. You love me. We're best friends like friends should be. With a great big hug and a kiss from me to you. Won't you say you love me?
I always wanted that Barney doll. Okay! If I were like JonTron, I'd be saying, well, that was one Barney Creepypasta. And now it's time for the next one. I'm sorry guys if this seems a tad bit long to you, but come on, it's my 51 subscriber special and my 16th birthday special combined into one, so we're just gonna call it an anniversary special. So it might be a tad bit long like other YouTubers have done, so let's get this started.
Odds are you remember the TV show Barney and Friends, which is still in syndication, though new episodes haven't been produced since 2009. What a lot of people don't know is that the show was originally developed as a small concept that was only meant to have 10 episodes. The show was always surrealistic, with a large purple Tyrannosaurus Rex trying to project happiness on a group of children who are alone in a building with no parents in sight. Well, the creator of the show was kicking around with many different producers.
I didn't know that Barney was a T-Rex.
PBS. But with that said, I still have absolutely no idea how I got this tape in my possession. It was in a box of VHS tapes that had sticker markings, meaning it was ripped from TV off of one of those late-night channels, meaning someone was probably broadcasting it independently. I may upload it one of these days if I ever get my hands on a VHS tape converter, if you'd be interested in seeing it anyway. The episode doesn't start out normally. The children are outside of the main building and going to meet Barney the dinosaur, but the door just won't open. The entire first 3 minutes are the children trying desperately to get into the building, and they're visibly upset that they can't get in. They punch at the windows, grab at the door, and one of them even starts crying profusely, just uncontrollably. One of them gets a knife from next to the sandcastle and tries to jimmy the lock. Eventually the door opens and they go inside.
Well then.
Where is he? The child actors, a collection of boys and girls of young ages varying in race, they all seem visibly shaken. Have you seen me? Is written on the wall in large cartoon letters. They seem to want to know if Barney is playing a trick, so they start to act as though it's a game of hide and seek, being innocent young children. There are bottles of seemingly spoiled milk near the door. The school doors around them start to open and close like a set malfunction. Specifically, the door into the common area where the show takes place opens and closes twice, and an alternate set door, which is never seen on the show, opens once. The set is visibly cold as the children start shaking. One of the kids looks really sad. I think Barney's in trouble, one of them says. None of them say anything now. It's as though they're trying not to say anything that's on the tip of their tongue, maybe for the sake of trying to stay actors. There was an ant farm on the back wall next to a blue clay pot on a shelf. One of the younger girls points it out by saying, "Our ants are dead. We should just leave." Another girl points out a rotted, withered pumpkin where even the flies surrounding it are dead. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream is heard in the alternate hall. 4 of the students run into the hallway, struggling and panicking behind stage, while 5th runs over to the back wall and desperately starts ripping the children's drawings off the wall. One is of a car crash, another a graveyard, and a third a picture of a sick person in bed. The kids seem to be running behind the set forever until an unused corridor that was never seen on any other episode, as far as I know, seems to go on forever, like an infinite loop.
Like
it looks
the
like
end of
either the
Stairs.
creators reused the same set and had the kids run through the hall a dozen times, or it's just an extremely strange, overly long hall, like it's from somebody's nightmare.
Or Mario 64.
There's a limbo bar in the middle of the hall, and they all duck under it and keep moving. Somehow they ended up at a closet on a different set, and the camera jumped. One of the kids used an asthma inhaler because he's visibly out of breath, and there's a 6th child at the closet who is doing all the screaming. 6 paper skeletons, that's it. At this point I thought maybe they were just doing a children's horror show or kind of a spoof. The kids grab the 6 skeletons, one for each kid, and rip them up. One girl takes her purple sweater off. One of the children says, "I know where he is," and then the screen fades out. "We'll be right back" is shown with a picture of Barney, but he's looking downward, kind of sad. He doesn't look like himself, and there's a visible rip in the fabric of the costume running on the left side. The real creepy thing about it is how long this stays up, and the fact is, the more I looked at it, the more I realized it was just an empty costume propped up by maybe a broom or something. Back in the outdoors area, Barney is seen laying on his side, gasping for air. There's something clawing from within him which looks absolutely disturbing. "Where were you?" One of the kids runs up and starts to hug him out, but Barney pushes him off. "I was always here," he says. "You just never saw me until now." He's holding a balloon for each child. They go to grab one and he releases them, letting them drift upward while the kids scramble to jump and grab them. "He's fading!" One of the kids became frantic. "I never taught any of you lessons," he said. I just loved you. I only knew how to love you. The kid started to cry. He's fading. I believe in you, Barney. The kids all start to shiver, and Barney begins to scream frantically for them to move. Black cloth begins falling from the top of the set in pieces. A part of you wants to hate me, he says. I know that part of you. I see it. I can't resolve it. I can't teach you lessons, and I can't fix what's broken or human nature. Every time the camera cuts back, Barney is in a different suit. First a stuffed bear, and then a giant blanket with eyes. I don't know who broke your heart, specifically, but someone did. And then you grew up, and you had a family, but nothing ever changed since then. One of the children now changed into an unkempt 30-year-old in the same clothing, using the asthma inhaler. Another of the kids became more frantic and started trying to rip the costume head off, but Barney picked her up and violently threw her into the back set. For the duration of the show, she never got up. Barney starts to cry, which is the only time that this ever happened on the show. Won't you look at me, please? I mean, really look at me. You've never really seen the real me. Barney's suit is now completely white, and he's only at half opacity, holding a ticking clock. I'm guessing the opacity is because they used the low-budget overlay. He rambles about how we all evolved from rats. And he takes the knife from the child's hand and physically cuts down the center of his clothing. 2 cats crawl out of the suit and run off. The set grows very dark, and Barney's opacity begins to fade even more. And remember, no matter who you are, no matter what you become, no matter what we were meant to be, I will always love you. I'm not sure what the remains of the VHS tape are, as someone seems to have taped over it with amateur footage of a car crash.
What the heck? Well, now it makes me feel bad for ever hating Barney. Wow. Guys, I might have to stop and think about this for a little bit, actually. Feels, man. All the feels. Every single one of the I hate you. Cease to be. Both of them being Super Mario World. One being Paper Mario. The image is from the 1,000-Year Door, and the other one is from Super Mario World, the ending image. Either that's the... No, wait. Yeah, that's the 1,000-Year Door, because Peach doesn't have a hair tie on her. In her hair, you know.
Matt, I need you to keep this thing on the charger.
Everybody, for our anniversary special, here's my sister.
Sup?
Come on, don't hit me on camera. That one, you did it anyways.
Because I'm awesome. Look at that lion, it's so awesome.
So, that was it for this anniversary special. Thank you all for watching. Join the Dude Army. Like, comment, and subscribe. I am Prince Matt the Hedgehog, and I am out. See you all in the next one, guys.